right, let's talk.
Just as soon as it pops up live, I'll play the video, do my intro, then we're good to go. I mean, one of those nights, isn't it? Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, trying to bring a little normalcy to this world. Do I ever succeed? Oh, hell no. But we try. And as always, I have guests, yes, with an S, here to help me tonight. And they are, of course, Michael Anthony of America in Crisis and multiple other podcasts, which I'm sure I'll let him get all into at the end, and Shawn Kelly of Chasing Prophecy and the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society. How you doing, gentlemen?
Real good. How are you?
I can't complain. We get to talk about some crazy stuff tonight, and that's my favorite thing to talk about. So let's go.
Yeah, cool. All is well here, by the way, and thank you for having me in. I hope I do you justice.
I'm sure you will.
I do.
But there is a question I ask everybody in the show because I'm always curious to know.
Okay.
And whoever wants to answer first can answer first. But what got you into the paranormal?
I'll go first on that. 1983, when I was in the United States Navy, I was taking a drug called antabuse. And what happened was we were on an island, Diego Garcia. And I got really depressed. And I went down to get my antabuse, which is supposed to wean you off alcohol. And what happened was I got depressed. I had this stuff in my system for a year. And I got depressed and I drank a whole fifth of Jack Daniels. And when I got back to the ship, or when they got me back to the ship, when I got into the medical place, they told me that I was dead on arrival. Okay. And it was like dead for about 3 or 4 minutes. Now, according to scientists, I should have been dead forever, but for some reason I popped back up again. I was alive. They brought me back. And then I started to see things, hear things, and feel things that were not there. I started seeing spirits. I started to hear them talk and stuff like that. And from that year, 1983 up till now, that's where I've been.
Wow. That's one of the more interesting introductions to the paranormal I've heard. I mean, usually it's people saying like, I read books about when I was a kid, and I've been fascinated ever since. Like that's the most common answer I get, which is my answer as well. But I mean, we can't all have we can't all have the good stories about what got us into it. Sometimes it's just you found a book in the library in elementary school, and from there it just grew and grew. But how about you, Mike?
Well, now I know why his beard's white.
Moses.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, look, man, it's going to take longer than an hour. No, I mean, truthfully, I don't know. I was always closer to the other side when I was young. You know how you hear that scenario. Hey, I know that lady.
Hi, Mandy.
Hi, Mandy. How are you, sweetheart? I was always closer to the other side in dreams and how they affected me, what went on in them. My grandparents and my uncles had funeral homes. Weird to say, yeah. So when you went to grandma's for Christmas or any other time, you had to walk sometimes by a body to get up to the upper level where they stay because, the funeral parlor was basically on the first floor. And sometimes I would swear I would hear little things. I don't share this a lot with people, and it's like, what the, and I would like sneak around the corner and look at this, like, who's talking? You know what I mean? And it just progressed from there. As a dream state was one of the biggest things for me, though, where I felt like I was having out of body experiences, not sleep paralysis, and then I would wake up like out of a dream that like had nothing to do with anything more than but me flying somehow, like being in the sky. And it started like that. And then it got to the point where my arms were tired. So I had this reoccurring a few times. Then it started to be where it was a physical component to me as well. Like I was flapping my arms all night, not a joke. And I started to see things. I was hearing things. I didn't know what the shadow stuff was. I'm going through life, and then I start wondering about stuff like to further it, but to do it quickly. Some shows started to catch me. So my story is much different than Shawn's here. On I can never say anything on that. It wasn't like that for me. But I started watching these shows. I became obsessed and fascinated. I couldn't wait for all these things that came on because I'm 64 now. Shawn's in my age. So we're going back for me like 48, 49 years now.
Yeah.
And I was watching the beginning of television talking about cryptids and just all these other things and strange anomalies, watching chiller theater, wondering what was it really all about, and my life progressed that way. And to the point where I started having some experiences right in front of my face, overhead as well.
Interesting. And it sounds like you're talking about astral projection when you talk about what was happening to you as a kid. Like that's astral projection, or I mean, even lucid dreaming to a degree. I would think. But interesting.
I don't have a medical degree to analyze myself, but I would agree with that.
I would too.
And again, like I said, the things and the numbers that had occurred, we don't have enough time for me to get into. And Shawn knows that. We talked privately and stuff in the past. And man, there's a lot. I carry a lot of weird baggage.
Interesting. That's yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, these are the lives that I always wish I lived to a degree, because I'm like, I never had that many paranormal experiences, and I always wanted to be one of those people that had more. And those that want to don't see, like that old saying. So it's just that's worth my life.
Well, you know what, Jeremy? You're probably having paranormal experiences every day, but you're just not recognizing it. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever go to a room where you're standing there and it's like 80 degrees and all of a sudden it drops down to 60? They get so cold.
Yes, because I live in a house that has at least one spirit in it, possibly maybe two, so or maybe more. I mean, I just posted a video on my TikTok and my Facebook a couple weeks ago of what looked like dozens of orbs in my garage just floating up towards the ceiling. Like it's just weird. Like I've there's a couple of videos on there of that. It's just my listeners know about it because I've said it before, but it's just. We know there's two. I've had investigators in the house. We know originally we thought there was two spirits, and then it seemed like there's only one for a while. But our cameras in the garage catch weird stuff here and there, like almost on a daily basis. And in the basement sometimes too. My dogs will like be staring at something in the camera, and like you don't know what they're staring at. So, and we have chickens. We had them in the garage originally in the back part. It's like a coop built into the garage. And all of a sudden, these chickens are just dying, like left and right. And it looks like something's flattening them and like choking them to death. And we move them out to the shed, they stop dying.
Huh.
So it's my theory my theory and the mediums that have been on my show before who have remote viewed my house, like it's our theory that we came up with that the owner of this house originally who built the house doesn't like animals in the house, like farm animals. Yeah. So can't blame him. I didn't want chickens in my damn house either, but wife gets what she wants. So, but
of course,
I mean, it's just so. I mean, at the end of the day, like there's definitely at least one spirit in the garage. We think his wife may still be here, and she likes to hang out in my daughter's room because my daughter's room is always colder than the rest of the house, and they never had kids because we live around their relatives and we talk to them about them, and they never had kids. So we think, and the investigators that had come in think that she wanted to just watch over the kids. So I don't know. It's weird.
That is some extreme poltergeist activity, what you just described there. To me, it's not even spirit. It's not like a human spirit. And it could be. It could be. There is energies of strength that way that we understand, we hear about, and this could be a perfect example of that. But that's poltergeist, flattening of a chicken. I mean, there's a hand of something playing here of energy that's just a little bit different.
Yeah, I would think
mean,
so.
Nothing has happened since we moved the chickens. Like, and we also had our one mastiff out when she was the only one we had. We had her out in the garage in a cage as well, like at night. And the one night she starts screaming like she's being murdered. Like, I never heard a dog yell like that in my life. And we ran out there, and she's perfectly fine. And she just runs in the. But as soon as we opened their cage, she ran the house faster than I've ever seen a dog run in my life. Like, it was like a cartoon almost watching her run the house. It was just creepy as hell. And my wife's been out in the garage with the dogs at night too, and like they refuse to go in the back part of the garage at night. And during the day they'll go back there and sniff around, but at night they refuse to go in the back part of the garage. And my wife swears she heard like something like talking to her, evil sounding almost, while she was in the garage. So
interesting.
Yeah, I had a dog once run out the door and never come back. And it was not a mystery to me and thought, but it was the night my mother died. And when we all got home, we experienced that. Like I said, a lot of baggage. I carry a lot of things, don't have answers for them all. Yeah, so I understand where you're coming at. The animals,
they're the best.
They have a heightened sense that we don't, in ways, I guess, truly understand.
Same as kids. Yeah, same as kids.
Babies and cats and dogs. Babies are the best. I mean, literally the best.
Those videos on TikTok and stuff of babies talking to someone like they're it's creepy as hell. Like, it's creepy as hell.
I would like to share a story with everybody and your people out here. When my son was born, he was like about 2 months old, and so we took him up to my Aunt Penny's. Well, her husband, my Uncle Paul, was deceased. Okay, and I always wondered if my dad, who passed away before my son was born, if my son ever see my dad. Now, my Uncle Paul, he looked exactly like my dad. And so we brought up the house. My Aunt Penny's holding Paul. And all of a sudden, my Uncle Paul comes around. And Paul just went like this with his hands opened up, like with the biggest smile in the world. And I'm like, I knew right then. I just got me some spidey senses kicking in now. And it was like, yeah. Then I knew.
Well, first off, I just want to say, Jukebox, I believe exactly what you just said, that we are all born energies and we're reincarnated until we learn everything we need to learn, and then we get to ascend to some unknown dimension that we can't begin to imagine. I believe that completely. I believe that reincarnation happens to all of us until we hit a certain point. Whether we're all extraterrestrial spirits or we're all just spirits from a god, I don't know where to go on that one, but I do believe your theory as well. But as far as your story goes, Shawn, yeah, kids and babies. I mean, my stepson, when he would spend the night at his aunt's house for like a week during like breaks from school, he would see the ghosts that are there because they live behind an old what was it? It's a torn down I want to say tuberculosis hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like we went on a hike behind their house one time, like to where the hospital was, and it was just like you get the creepiest feeling all in that area in the woods. And I mean, it's a Bridgewater Triangle too, so I mean, you're gonna get a creepy feeling no matter what. But
we had a show. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My wife, and my listeners know this, I'm not gonna go into detail, but my wife lived in the house when I first met her. That's right on the edge of the Bridgewater Triangle, and actually the house is on an Indian burial ground. Her grandfather didn't know that when he bought it, and back in '90, he didn't know it was on an Indian burial ground and Native American burial ground. And there's been a lot of that house is full of creepy stuff. I've done full episodes of like talking about that house, so that's why I don't want to go in detail. But go ahead, Shawn.
We had a show on Chasing Prophecy about the Bridgewater Triangle. And I mean, I did a lot of research on it. And that is one of my bucket lists to go investigate, the Bridgewater Triangle. And
you want to go? You want to go investigate it? I could show you. My wife knows some spots there that she could definitely show you, including a tree that has eyes all carved into it. Like
wow. You want to go, Michael?
Hey, look, I'm in. I'm in. So, I love the wood spirit theme too, and carvings and whatnot. And I think Shawn, my friend here, knows that I do that. Chainsaw carvings. I see things and can bring them out of the wood. And I can't draw with a pencil well. I can't even write my name well. My scribbling is so bad. But yeah, you give me a chainsaw and I'll give you what you want. It's really weird. It's really weird. Yeah, I would love to go to one of these triangles and then do like an investigation, because again, this phenomenon has been around me in many, many different ways, and I've observed it and I'm fascinated with it. But I also respect it. I truly respect it. So
you have to.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go in prepared mentally, because I'm not one of the ones that'll turn around and scream or run out like a little girl. I'm going to stand there and try to analyze to the best I can, to the best of my abilities. And we're seeing different shows being able to do that now. And I'm gravitating more to shows that make common sense and the whole paranormal. Kindred Spirits, I think, puts on a fascinating way of explanation and theory on how they're doing it by, really looking into the history of the house, the people who live there and things like that. They're getting better responses from questions. I'm just saying, I love them all. They're all doing something fascinating, but I don't believe in provocation's the best way. I just don't. I don't feel that way about it. The ones that provoke usually run. The ones who face and address things not by a theory, but a theory of fact, do the best and get us the best informations.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually have never been on an investigation besides the one that was done in my own house, just because time doesn't usually allow me to do these type of things with a full-time job and kids and dogs and a wife, and 3 podcasts. Like, it just doesn't, as I'm sure you both know, like, podcasting takes up a lot of time. So it's just, there's no time for me to really do investigations other than just living in my house and investigating that on a daily basis almost. I mean, anytime my wife gets a notification that the camera crossed something, I'm like, what is it? What is it? What is it? Like, I'm hoping to get a full body apparition someday on it. I'm hoping, but
really,
my hopes aren't that high, but I'm hoping like one day we'll get a full, because I want to see him. Like, I can't find a picture of him online. I want to see what he looked like. So,
the full body?
Yeah.
Okay, can I send you a couple?
Oh, be my guest. Yeah, I'll post them on my page.
All right.
Oh yeah, I could put them up. That's definite. But I mean, it's just, it's because I had a guest in the show tell me if you zoom in on the orbs, you can see a face. And we did it the next day when we caught some orbs we caught 2 of them on camera the next day, like floating around, and we paused it and zoomed in on one, and oh my God, we think it's the wife, but it's the creepiest face I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was like, oh my God, like, it looked like a woman with a beard almost.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the orb, the only shape it has probably, but it's just.
But you have to be careful with the orbs when you show and you tell people, because that's still like a 50-50 discussion in the paranormal field. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people say it's dust. A lot say it's dew, but there are some that say there is. And I'm like you, I believe that they are. Now, being in the business for a long time, I have finally realized an orb that is dusty, which is dust or dew. Okay. For me, the only good orb that I would accept would be a solid white ball of energy,
which is what it was.
And then you're in, dude. You got yourself.
Actually, do I have them saved in this computer still? If I do, I'll play one right now. Yes, I do. All right, let me get it uploaded. I'll definitely play one. I have no problem with that. Video clips.
I'd like to make a comment after we get through wherever you guys are going with this, which is fine. I'm enjoying it.
Go ahead and make a comment, because it'll take a minute to upload. So
okay. Go ahead. Plasma energy, orbs, orb-like balls, solid matters. I think that there is a little bit of a difference of opinion out in the field of what they are and what they are not. The fascinating part about some of these orbs, when you can see faces of all multiple colors. I have ones that were blowing up in front of me and taking other forms. They just weren't a circle. I've experienced them to where on camera you could see me talk to them intelligently and them landing in my hand as I asked them to, and then leaving my hand. Never feeling anything, like I didn't get any of the moose bumps or any of the spidey things that people, that wasn't there for me, to be perfectly honest with you. But I've encountered things that were, I guess, maybe different. And some of these other things that we see are, have been scientifically speaking. I don't know if their theories and their proofs are 100% correct, or more what we understand of as an anomaly of a plasma ball that can just energize itself in the field due to electromagnetism. So I don't know what they are, because we're not seeing anything besides what we are seeing, a solid object. The ones that I seen and came to me, around me, started to form. So there was a manifestation coming out of it, and I could send them to you too as well. And in some cases, you may have to look and say, okay, I can see some faces. Like I was getting multiple faces coming through, and they weren't the most beautiful faces either. They were like something that was like you would have to recognize it immediately and say, well, this is from the dark side. This is from a dimensional realm that's, maybe just that would give you the heebie-jeebies. But anyway, that's a little bit on my detail, what I could explain. But I had done it where I communicated, and I didn't even realize they were telling me what was going on around me, that they were just around me. And I'm not talking 100, but this was under controlled conditions. The same as when you give a toxic waste component to a company who is in charge of understanding how to control an environment to burn off waste that is toxic. There is a way to do it with heat and air that keeps everybody safe. Filtration systems. Well, when you've done everything in a controlled environment, and this is how they come out, and it's not dust, the windows are closed. I mean, you go through every precaution you can, including, and I don't know, I never hear anybody say this, putting bug lights in the rooms before you even use them up to 12 hours before, to make sure you're clearing the atmosphere of any negativity that could complicate an investigation. Do you guys use bug lights? Because I say, if you go into a house the night before, run up for 24 hours. They will come to it. You'll find them dead around it. And you're actually helping the environment for research.
Did not know that, brother.
All right, well, take a look at this video and tell me what you think, both of you.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Put it up.
Oh, that's an orb.
Okay. All right. I got two things
Hold
on
on.
that.
Hold on. Wait for it.
That was good.
Hey, does it come back again? I think it does, if I'm not mistaken. Towards the end of the video? No, maybe not. Okay, maybe not. But I mean, yeah, that's an orb, right?
No doubt. No doubt. What I believe in, what I see in that video, that solid white ball just going in a straight line right across. If there was any kind of wind, if there was any kind of air flowing through, okay, it goes up. Air goes up. It doesn't go sideways unless you have a hole in the side of your garage.
And no, there's no holes in the garage. I mean, there's a little gap underneath part of the garage door, but not enough for like wind to come through like that. But I mean, that's what it is. Like, it's just, and at the end of the video, you see it. Like, it comes back towards the camera at the end of the video. So, right. I mean, and I wish I had the other two seen on my computer, but I don't. But actually, can I go to...
Okay, I want to bring something up that I've been studying recently, but better than that, let me grab something out of my foul on the floor.
All right.
All right. Well, while he does that, I'm gonna show my screen real fast because.
Okay.
But I'm
okay.
All right.
It's really funny that you brought that up tonight.
Watch this, Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike.
Go ahead.
Nah, see, to me personally, no, that's I won't accept that as a lot of ghosts going up. I believe
All
maybe
right.
some that, and that's my opinion.
I respect your opinion, but while I got my screen shared, let me share your pictures with the audience.
Okay.
Let me get a full screen here. Because these, yeah, I mean, I fully believe these are what are we looking for in this one, if I'm not. What are we looking for in the cemetery one? I don't. Oh,
Okay. See the
oh,
guy on the left-hand
holy
side of
shit! Oh, yeah, I just saw it. Yeah, holy shit!
Yeah.
I'm not seeing nothing. I'm just
I'm not seeing
Right
nothing
here,
either.
right here, right here.
It's just showing all your things. You have to clear that out in order to
yeah.
What things?
Your TikTok files up.
Oh, I clicked on TikTok, not share screen. View. Oh, here we go. Let me stop sharing. Present. Share screen. There we go. All right, now it'll work. Actually, may not. I'm not that familiar. Oh, entire screen. There we go. Okay. There we go. I got it. Bam. All right.
Okay.
That right there.
Yeah, right there on the left-hand side on the picture.
Oh yeah, I'm very well aware of that. That's been out there for quite some time.
Dude,
yeah,
we caught that when we on investigation.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even see this the first time I looked at it. Holy crap. Wow, that's something right there.
We call that guy the preacher man. And that was taken in a town of Elizabeth, PA.
Oh, I've heard of Elizabeth. It looks like he's holding a Bible, so it makes sense. But and then that's an orb?
Yeah, it's my fat butt there with the orb on top of me.
That's a big ass orb. Like holy shit. But well, damn. Yeah, well, interesting. Oh, we have a comment. I have an interesting theory that places create energies and that entities aren't necessarily trapped, but in order to make contact, depending on the energy it is around determines how it projects itself. That makes sense because I don't know. What is your guys' theories on like how spirits slash ghosts like present themselves? Like, is it based on what they think the person wants to see, or is it based on what they can actually have the ability to do?
From what we know is dark energy, because there's more dark energy than there is light energy in matter. So they somehow they're able in that realm to connect with it, to be able to. I think in some cases the possibilities could be that they don't even realize that they're doing this, but our cameras are seeing it. That's the great part of technology. Even though too much technology can be terrible, but through the eyes of technology, just as we're seeing into the universe, we're seeing into realms that we don't understand, and we're picking up many different styles of pictures in the woods and spirits and Bigfoot and cryptids and all these other things. They don't always look perfectly fine, and 99% of the time they don't. And I don't know if that has to do with static infrasound that comes from some. Now that's talking cryptid, but going back over to the paranormal ghostly matter, it's kind of hard to say, but somehow they're picking up energy. And I think that's why you'll see them come in and fade out, as if they know they can identify vortexes or windows or doors or portals where the energy coming from the soil is going into the atmosphere, and they pass through it. Now, when you go over with trimeters, and you'll see your readings pop. And that's why I'm saying this. I'm not talking an unfacilitated fact here. I'm talking how it works if you're able to catch it on camera. So the next time you're out, you catch something like that, or someone says, Shawn, something just flew by you. Have somebody take the equipment right to that spot and see what the reading is, or use dowsing rods. They will spin.
Dowsing rods, I don't know how much I trust, because the investigators that investigate my house use them as well. And maybe they work in different ways, but the way they're using them for like just yes, no answers, like push it this way, push it that way, it seemed like the slightest movement of a human hand could move them a certain direction.
And you can here's my theory on dowsing rods. They do work, okay, no doubt. But you have to have somebody that can do it. But I did an experiment one time with them, and you can actually control those things with your mind. Seriously, you can
Interesting.
yeah. I did it a couple of things where I said, "Is my name Rob?" Cross for yes, stay still for no. And I'd go, "Is my name Rob?" And I would mentally make a cross without moving my hands. So
Huh.
yeah, so it's like, to me, I'm on the fence with dowsing rods.
Yeah, I mean that's how I am too. But and Mandy, I mean, it's funny you say that because I've had memes in my show tell me that I have a spirit next to me, and then they describe it, which I never talk about my family in this podcast, especially like the person they said it was. But the person they described sitting next to me was a grandfather of mine who passed away back in 2015, 2016, and he's not the grandfather I was close to at all. So they described him, and he was standing next to me supposedly while I was doing a podcast. And I'm like, really? That's the grandfather that's next to me, not the one that I loved and looked up to with all my heart. Like, why can't I see him? Like, I want to see him. And I know if there's a heaven, he's there because he was the most religious man in the world. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. You say it. It's weird. I never have seen any. I have yet to see any family members actually see them or sense them. I mean, I get feelings when I'm doing podcasts, when I'm talking about like spirits, but I usually just assume it's the ones that live in my house and they hear me talking about them and they're coming to see what I'm talking about. But
I call it telekinesis.
did you say telekinesis or telekinesis?
Yeah, well, you know that word. But it's because
That
you
word.
have the mind's power to move, bend, and scientific proofs are behind it all. And you may just have some of that rocking out there, Shawn.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
I mean, I don't brag about it. I went to Gettysburg one time, and there was a guy that took these people on a ghost hunt with dowsing rods, right? So we went down the Sachs covered bridge, and there's a creek under them, right? So this boy had them sitting in the middle of the bridge, using their dowsing rods, okay? Over water. They do work for water. And I was mean. I was ignorant back then. And I said, dude, get your money back because that guy just like took you for $40. You know what I mean? Because you don't do the dowsing rods over a creek. And you know what I mean? You just don't do it. And that's my opinion.
Well, I can't tell you that I found water using them twice
I believe it.
on my property. They do pick up frequency energies of water.
Mm-hmm.
And how water works with that and certain types of stones, you do have higher energy potentials. You can go back to the ancient pyramids and figure out how they knew about it because they had conductive energies. And look, they weren't working in a pitch black dark pyramid without power, and they weren't using candles. They weren't using the I can't think of the term that they were the Iraqi battery. There's a term for what, because you would have smoke and smoldering, and there was no signs of that. So it tells me that they understood energies and they knew how to utilize them. And some of these caps that were put on top are the same types of things that even when we look into like theories of the Rosen Bridge and faculties of energies there, or if we go down to what Nikola Tesla was doing and what he was coming up with on dark matter and energies, because he was able to deliver harness and a remote wireless energy. And it's fact. And the government swooped in for all that. As a matter of fact, Donald J. Trump uncle was in the project that followed him and absorbed a lot of the information that was taken from his rooms and stuff. That it's like, who was this guy in touch with? Terrestrials? I mean, we don't interstellar terrestrials. We don't know, but the picture is so fascinating of it all. And then you have kinetic, whatever. And there is an ability to mind in some ways to focus energies, but I don't know how far we are actually able by mind, if we have evolved that far to do more. But I have witnessed things under scrutiny where people were doing things, and it was just like, wow, this is just nuts. But things like that do happen. They really do. It exists. But
And
I do know I found water. I kid you not on that.
I got something funny to tell you about that in a second. But Marlene said she lived in Maryland as a kid. Lots of orbs, shells, and such like. Traveled through Pennsylvania many times late night in the mountains. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the
Yeah.
mountains, Pennsylvania, late at night because I. Oh, actually, do you guys know Lon Strickler? He's a paranormal investigator out of Pennsylvania.
I do not know him. No.
Yeah. I don't know
He
him
does.
personally, but I know who we're speaking of. Who you're speaking
Yeah,
of.
he runs Phantom and Monsters Radio. It's his podcast basically, and
Okay.
he does like daily write ups about like sightings. But he was on my show a while back, and like the stuff he was saying he investigated in Pennsylvania, it went out to even dragons like coming out of mines in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So
that's for another show, dude. Hi, Michael.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm not going to look. Listen, Pennsylvania is fascinating. There's more
Yes.
reports of us being one of the hottest spots in the United States than we get credit for, and that is a fact. There's reports, and that's what's laying over my floor right now. It's quite honestly, that's what's really there. So let me get to that one little fragment of information. What the hell did I do with it? Okay, you showed that one videotape where it was a cylindrical type object that kind of like went across. Now, was it stretching through the digital format of the shots? So many per minute, then, flash, but it looked like it was cylindrical. And I thought to myself, wow, isn't that really weird and funny? Because now we've discovered something that we have no answer to. Fact, cave rods. Okay, and they're just not in caves, but they were discovered in caves. I think it was somewhere in the early I want to say like 1970s, and we were seeing these exact objects in different lengths, thicknesses, all like cigar tube shape, and no format of wings, flight, nothing. We've seen them outside of the room. We've seen them in the light. We've seen them in the dark. And they are called rods. They're fascinating. They can fly, what we understand, up to 200 miles per hour, which makes them very hard to see. They can be in front of your face right now, and you don't even know they're there. We know this because it's been proven scientifically, and enough people have made captures of these. Have you guys heard of these?
Yes, I heard of rods, and
I have as well. But
then the paranormal field, though, rods are just rods. A lot of people think that they could be spirits. I call them squigglies, to be honest with you. I call them squigglies because they have some weird looking shapes. You know what I mean? And I'm on the fence with that too, Mike.
Oh, it's not a problem. I just wanted to bring it into the light.
But
Now,
I appreciate that.
I've never seen a rod get squiggly, so I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. But I'm just saying, laying it out there that there is this other whole thing going on out here that we are, actually getting some facts on, and we through development of technology and cameras, we are not. It's more coming into the public eye, and if anybody looks that kind of stuff up, it's pretty fascinating, to be quite honest with you. And again, they always stay in a straight line. Now, the funny part about them is if they are a life form of some type of flesh and blood, same as us in this reality, they don't have wings. They don't have a propulsion system that you would expect, like with a hummingbird or something that could move and with like in the same kind of speed and so forth. So all I'll say, and to end that with, so everyone has proper time, is look into them. They're not the squigglies, because I know what you're talking about there, and I'm not sure what they are, in fact, on those things. But these are something I think that is in our reality, yet they have the ability of movements and flight that is so great. Our eyes can't comprehend the fact that they could even come and fly right in front of our face.
well, Marlene says now she's in Ohio near the river is where I see whatever is I'm seeing / experiencing. I keep it to myself. I know what you mean about the squiggly though.
Okay.
So
Good.
I mean, Mike, my explanation for that is because I've had Vincent Field, he's an author, and he just wrote a book about lucid dreaming / astral projecting,
Mm-hmm.
and he's an experiencer of that for his whole life, and he's pretty good at it from what he told me, and I kind of believe him because he didn't seem like he was lying at all, and I think that has to do with dimensions like laying on top of each other. Is that sometimes there's crossovers, and I think that's what the rod / squigglies are, is crossovers of dimensions just going by, kind of
And that
like
could be true.
Yes, sir.
creature. I mean, it's the same thing as when like I'm a big fan of the podcast Monsters Among Us with Derek Hayes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a viewer call in like and tell your sighting type thing, and like people have reported seeing like these snakes in the sky, like flying in the sky almost like huge snake looking things, and I mean I don't think they're dragons by any mean, like even like the
They're
Asian
called
dragons.
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, we're getting tons of
Oh.
reports about the Thunderbirds and a couple other elusive
See-
ancient possibilities existing still.
See, I don't. To me, Thunderbirds are something different. To me, Thunderbirds.
I understand.
I think Thunderbirds are pterodactyls that are left over from the dinosaur age, which
They're from
living
a
dinosaurs.
period. Yeah, they're
Living,
period.
living dinosaurs is one of my favorite topics in the world. But I mean, Macaulay Mbembe is my favorite cryptid ever. But I mean, it's just I think Thunderbirds, especially in the Southwest America, are pterodactyls that live in the cave systems down there, and they come up when they come up when they're looking for food. So I think because like I don't know if you've ever seen like Mysteries and Monsters in America back in the day, but they had a segment about Thunderbirds or about pterodactyl, and it literally picked a kid up off a front yard in like the 70s or 80s and like flew away with it until like the people started. It was in Texas, so like of course everybody has guns, and they started shooting at it, and it dropped the kid like a few yards over basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I think Thunderbirds are. I think they're leftover pterodactyls that survived extinction.
And I'm aware of that story. I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, then I guess it's, what may even fascinate you more now is then some of the deep military industrial complex projects that go on once you get beyond level 7. Much is known down there that they have been involved with what they call exogenics and things like that, which is a format of human and animal connections of trying to create. It's not a joke. This stuff does exist. The paperwork's out there. That things like this has happened. Even Phil Schneider was one of the guys that came out and talked about it, not because of an incident that he had, but facts of what he was witnessing. And he talked about it after he got out of the military, went public for 9 months, and he had a very mysterious death on what he was talking about with a piano cord around his neck, and they burned it. They actually poured gasoline on him and burned him. Somebody did not want this man talking about what he knew and what he was disclosing. So once you get beyond and below level 7, that's when the magic door opens. I don't know anybody. I haven't met anybody besides knowing of Phil being able to discuss this and possibly a couple others. But it's fascinating that we know that the Germans were actually playing hand in hand with manipulations of life and trying to create biblical content of creatures. As you said, coming from caves, anything's possible. We think there's cryptids in caves. We don't know where they go. We don't know if it's dimensional. There's more questions than answers. It's a lot of good possibilities.
Well, see, the cave systems on the east and west coast, especially of America, and somewhat in the Midwest as well. Like I am a big fan of the theory that's where dogmen are hiding, or that's where their homes are. That's where some Bigfoot clans like to stay, at least in that part of the United States.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things come out. I mean, even those pale crawlers, rakes, as people call them. Like I think they like because my wife in the Bridgewater, when she lived in the Bridgewater Triangle, like she saw one come out of the woods behind her house and kind of stumbled around the backyard for like a half hour and then just kind of ran back into the woods. Like it seemed to have no purpose. It seemed to be completely mindless almost, but it just kind of stumbled around the backyard, and she tried taping it on her phone, but it was through a screen and it was dark, so you couldn't see shit. But It's just, I mean, it's just like that. There's a famous YouTube video of one of these things, and it was kind of the same thing. Like it's through a screen, so you can't really see it unless you really squint and look for it. But I don't know. It's just, I think a lot of things live in these caves, and these cave systems, nobody in this modern age has ever traveled through them completely. The Native Americans used to for spiritual journeys back in the day, but no one this age has traveled through them 100%. And I mean, it's just, and also the missing 411. What's happening to all those people that go missing, and they're always by these cave systems? Like I've seen on Facebook 1,000 times a map of the cave systems and the dots of the missing 411 all up and down these cave systems. Like,
and how close are the military industrial complexes underneath that go from one end of the United States to the other? And we have 156 locations that are huge. All right, you might look at it as a big conspiracy, but the fact remains, it's a fact. These places exist. These transit systems, there's a network under there. What I'm talking about when I say level 7, what's under that part, this could be part of something bigger than what a lot of people would not be willing to accept. Look at what we're going through right now. Look what we're being showed, the symbols and stuff. And I don't want to go into a political content, but these people are throwing things in our face that are dark, satanic, and now putting up statues of figures and times gone from the past. And they believe it. And focus on CERN, you'll find out what things might have be in place as they are.
Are you talking about like Rihanna and what's his name? And
it's
what's
not
his name?
One particular person. It's a network.
We did a conspiracies bracket on this show back in January, I think it was, or maybe December. We did a conspiracies bracket, and we got into deep on like 34 different conspiracies. But I mean, I am a huge believer in Illuminati or NWO, whatever they want to be called. They exist. I 100% believe they exist, and that they are controlling what's going on in the world on a daily basis. Whether people want, I mean, I don't know if Beyonce and not Beyonce. I don't know Rihanna or Shawn.
Lady Gaga, man, she'll tell you, and she already has said it. She just made a deal with the devil, which she made a deal with the Illuminati.
Look,
Lady Gaga.
There is a door that I could open that I was discussing with you earlier this afternoon that I've never brought up that would take you down that rabbit trail and show you unequivocal proofs of everything going on surrounds the focus point of who I am, what my theories are, why I'm putting my books together the way I am. But it's up to everybody to believe or to at least weigh the information. And it started on that 2001 date of 9/11. It really did.
Yeah.
That was the opening of the door of going into something. And how do we convince America we need to be patriotic and go in for looking for mass weapons of war? We weren't. Ask who Marvin Bush is and why his face and such a family is hidden. Because he was in charge of all the security in those buildings.
Yep.
But anyway, I could take you down a rabbit hole of so much stuff and information would just generate hours of time. But to jump through it, we didn't go there and find any mass weapons of destruction.
No.
That was formatted out that never happened. But they did find something. It goes back to Gilgamesh, thousands of years before technology, something that they needed to take to CERN, Switzerland. I can back it up. And you can back it up by Googling the information from the newspaper sources who wrote about what they were going to do, what time of day they were going to do it, what day they were going to do it, how Trump hijacked the first attempt by becoming president because there was a timeline script that they were trying to protect. And he hijacked the presidency in their eyes. America voted. That's what happened. And I believe that. So it happened. But the bottom line is they found something there. We know it through military people that it did happen, and they were able to put this missing component of ancient technology to this thing. And when they tested it, it worked. It went 400 feet through the ground, up into the air, and opened a portal. And there was writings and many other things of within the tomb that told stories of what it was done. And you can even get more facts when you look at writings that not done by me, factual writings biblically that said even King Solomon presented Sheba with a magic carpet. What was the magic carpet? What was the flying dragon? What were all these things people talking about? All I'm saying to you is they find something, and that's what they went there for. Their purpose was to blind us and to create patriotism, because they wanted it. That was a good focus point. Get people fired up in America. We're going over there. We're going to do this, but it was for a different purpose or reason. They find no mass weapons of mass destruction. And as a matter of fact, every pilot that supposedly was on those planes is living. And it's not a joke. I did was a show called 9/11 the day after. It lays it out, and not just by my words, me saying this. It's because I did my homework and I did it. And there are people out there that are really key components to all this, including our own police fire medic that said, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? But if you follow that whole, they are into dark. They have opened some type of, and found a way to open the gateway somehow. And anytime it came to hidden knowledge of history, technology, of things that, of course, we were, what came first, the caveman? I mean, really, did he? I mean, I don't know. That analogy that, hundreds of thousands of years ago, all was here was caveman. Well, why are we finding hammers and stones that go back just as old as what they're saying? We had tools. There was technologies. Look at the stones, and look at the building. You can't put a hair through them.
It's because I fully believe. Well, Marlene says it's becoming beyond obvious, talking about Illuminati and NWO, which I support that. But it's my theory, and I've had guests on before that have researched this. I had one guest who believes he found Atlantis. That's a good episode. Anybody who wants to listen to it should listen to it. But I had another guest who wrote a book called The Hidden History of Humanity, and both of them agree that there was an Atlantis, and it was in the African Saharan desert, and it was at least the center of it was the first democracy, and it had city-states all throughout the world, but including North America, supposedly. And I fully believe that they had extraterrestrial help, and my guests both agreed on that because they couldn't have done the things they did without extraterrestrial help. But this was also before cavemen. This was the first civilization on Earth. And I mean, that's where a lot of this whole idea of Starseeds comes from as well, because the Palladians were part of it, and a lot of the other races that Starseeds claim to be part of. I don't know them all, but I don't know them all by name, because it's just all that I on one of my shows with the Starseed, there's she mentioned 11 different species of aliens, and I'm just like, I'm not going to remember any of these besides Palladians, and I might not even get that one right. But
All right, I'll give you a quick one. Arcturians. All right, just so you have a second one. No, I get where you're coming from. We could speculate a lot of stuff, but I'm trying to focus on what I was sharing as to a fact of why we were there. And if you follow the lines of
I believe that too. I mean, Gilgamesh. You want to go to Gilgamesh? I mean,
no, I'm not trying to challenge anybody's intellectual.
I know. I'm just saying,
where the device was found.
Oh, I get it, but let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Gilgamesh. His best friend in the epic was called Enkidu, which I love that freaking name. I love that name. It's the funnest word in the alphabet to say. But Enkidu, a lot of people theorize that Enkidu, by the way they describe him in the epic, was either a Bigfoot or a dogman. What do you think about that?
I've heard
I'm lost. Sorry.
I'm
not there yet.
All I was trying to do was give a little theory on the dark side of what the military-industrial complex and more is involved in, and we're not seeing it. It's basically bitch slapping the world in the face.
They are.
Bringing a product, the biblical content law, back into place, and that's why they say that we are a threat to democracy, as you brought up, of where democracy was established. If in fact that's all true, because again, we don't have any factual proof where writings actually say it. Nothing's carved in stone on it, but the possibility could be unequivocally 100% fact. That's why we get together, we collect data, we share thoughts, and we talk about things. But I'm looking at the realm of what's kind of this darkness and the sophistication of methods that they are able to utilize, because of course, we're a slavery system of taxation that funds it all. The world has never been about us. We're the chattel. It's about them and how they do things. And I just wonder if the connection, as you brought up with the caves and what I know of the lower, once you get beyond level 7, some of these analogies, and some shows even brought this out back in the day. Unsolved Mysteries, I think, did a report on it where by accident, a state trooper followed a criminal into an area that led down through these passageways. He could hear things. He followed it down. And the story beyond that, if you look up the show, is not from me. This is from times in the past here, 20 some odd years, if not a little more, where everything I'm telling you is part of a reality of what he experienced. So how far are they embedded? How far has them playing with DNA codings and animals and people, and why do we see cattle mutilations and Linda Moulton Howe, award-winning journalists, and George Knapp, and people going out into the field and saying, what the hell? I mean, like, who's all behind it? It's just, to me, part of another issue of paranormal or something else, but it's there, this fabric. So I'm just wondering, what we're seeing at times is things that may have been released or got out into the public, and they're living now in this amongst us, basically.
Interesting.
I agree 100%. I mean, ask you this though. Do you know? I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this, but let me ask you it. Is the president level 7 even?
Trump?
Biden.
No, the president.
Well,
whoever's the acting.
I don't call Biden my president. I call him a threat to society. But I do believe that he's very well connected. Look what he's getting away with. He must know a lot more. I
personally call him a baby sniffing pedophile, but whatever. Antichrist.
Pizza, hot dog. I get it.
Exactly. But I mean, I haven't voted in an election since I lived in New York back in 2012, but because I haven't voted since I moved to Massachusetts, but I would have voted for Trump in 2016, 100%, and I would have voted against Biden in 2020. That's for damn sure. But I mean, I don't trust Biden. My wife doesn't trust Biden. Like, the way you see pictures of him like sniffing babies and stuff is just creepy as all hell. Like,
yeah, there's something drastically wrong with the whole picture, and I think a lot of people are seeing it. How does some of this weigh into it? I think there's a fact of truth in it. I'll just say that, because I don't want to complicate good friendships or be a Debbie Downer in some fashion to where it's like, we really went off track here. But I do think that there is concrete here. One day, if anybody really wants to open the floodgate, you let me know and I'll do it. Again, that's what my show coming out is, What's in the Skies. My reflection to that is, I'll just say like this: everything has come within creation from above to here. And with that, many things that we don't understand, portals, dimensions, different forms of life, it's complex. And I break it down through segments. And that's what I've been working on a lot in my opening monologues, and how I'm going to narrate through it, because a lot of it's going to be direct conversation, a theory, but also basing a fact with weight towards it that provides a theory that can be plausible, that the hypothesis is greater than the thought of fact, no more. because I don't think we all look at it that way. We get Richard Dolan and all the greats and Billy and the facts of with Jimmy Chartstown. These are people that I talk to. I do, and not Dolan. I've never had that, but I grew up getting to know Stanton Friedman, and he's the one. He's another huge influence in my life. He used to come in my father's gas station right out front of Cabot Street, and I would pump gas into his car. And one night he said to me, "How do you get through the night?" And I was like, it's hard." And he said, "Hey, I do a show. Listen to it." And I'm talking about UFOs and some of the unknown things. And every once in a while, he would come in, always late at night, and I would fill up his car. And he was kind enough to stay there, keep me company for a while, talk to me. And again, why do things like this always happen in my life? Why am I on this track? Why have I found such fascinations in it? I'm all over the board in theories, thoughts, and facts. I mean, it's huge for me. But I'm doing my best to get through it because sometimes it's also a mind explosion. It truly is on one because you're taking in so much information, your own brain clogs on you. It's either that or it's the fact of age and dementia. I don't know, but it does occur. It really does. Sometimes in the middle of a thing, it's like, boom, it's like I'm getting this download. It's just weird. It's like I go to sleep at night not knowing how I'm going to get through tomorrow because I ran into something that I never touched in my life. I'm not a cheap ass, but I want to fix it. And the next day I do. And I don't even know how I knew how to do it. But it happens every time in my life. So I think I've been shown enough, I've been guided by something that I can't explain that makes it happen. And I just feel this need to do these things and try to put better ideas of thought into them the best I can, And I'm not saying that I'm doing it all 100% right. Some of my theories are probably bad, but at least, I'm offering something. So to me, I feel it's good.
If you don't try to at least offer things, then you're never going to put anything out there that could be real. That's the way I see it.
Right.
I mean, but before we end it, all right, I haven't done this in a long time on this show, but I have a theory. No. I have a theory about Earth that I don't know if I heard it somewhere originally or if it's all from my head. I honestly don't remember. I've been going with the theory for so long. My theory is Earth is a prison planet that extraterrestrials came to, and I mean, I assume that out there in the space there's a dupe, a galactic council, a galactic UN, whatever you want to call it. Pick your sci-fi show and pick their governing force.
Corey Good brought up a lot of intentions with that, and so did David Wilcox.
But I believe that Earth is a prison planet, and that's where we get Bigfoot, dogmen, chupacabras, which I am doubtful if they exist even. But almost any cryptid out there, take your pick. That's where they come from, especially the ones that have been seen in mass numbers, and maybe humans as well. Maybe that's where humans came from as well. Is maybe we're an alien species that they didn't want around anymore, so they put us on Earth. And my theory is that's why we see UFOs all the time, because they're basically wardens watching over the planet to make sure the prisoners don't escape.
Oh, that's something to dwell on there, brother.
I've heard that.
Dwell on that.
I've heard that before, and I get it. I respect it. I welcome your insight on it. It could be true. I mean, right now, the nuts and bolts are all through the bucket, and we're trying to fit them, and that we're doing the best we can. I've heard this said, but I don't have any factual truth or proof.
Oh, I know. Me either.
But I don't take it off the table. It must lay. Hey, I'll give you something that's been really weird lately. Documents have been released, and I'm sure you are going to hear about this soon at some point. If you follow paranormal and ufology and different things like that, where now the CIA, maybe by mistake or maybe by intention of disclosure, is now saying in their own wordings, in their own documents under the Freedom of Information Act, is that the earth is flat. Now, I'm not pushing this. I'm telling you what was in their writing. I have it written down here because when I get information from source and I only have a handful of what I like, people that I talk to, not only that, we don't spin. I theorize around that the same as you do as a prison planet. And the reason I bring that up is if the earth is completely round, why is all the water always sit on, like, how is it that with all this spinning, it's not getting into the atmosphere, flooding the world? I mean, the gravity doesn't have that much pressure to hold that abundance down. That's why the oceans act against us. And that's why tides come. But there's a lot of things coming out of theory over the past 20 years where people are really fighting on this. But I thought it was amazing to see that NASA was in on the comments and the paperwork. Now, I don't know if it's factual truth or if they're disclosing false narrative lies. I'm just putting it out there as something that has just started to surface within the last, let's say, 90 days, maybe 6 months to 90 days, somewhere in that vicinity. And now there's more talk about it. But I've always wondered, I mean, really, when we theoretically look at some of the things that go on and with this planet, when you think about a circumference and the plane's going to China, would the plane not have to start doing this to get around to the other side of the world? And wouldn't it have to like flip and nobody ever feels these occurrences? Because it just makes sense if something's going around something in flight, that it would have to start doing that. Or does it softly glide down and then turn? And pilots don't ever discuss it. It's off the table. There's only several pilots that talk about this that say, I am not allowed to make comments to this particular subject. And it just says to me like, wow, because, it is a wow. I mean, gravity's holding all this water when water's like, what do they say? It's 70%, Shawn, or something,
Yeah.
I think,
It's 70,
yeah.
If that is the case, I mean, how does it all, when we understand gravity and the theory of it all, it's like pretty weird. But again, I'm writing it down because it's information. It's out there. Is it false? It could be. But I just found it fascinating because of the prison planet thing.
I mean, it's funny. I had another podcast on here a couple months ago, and their episode just released. But Be Afraid of the Dark podcast. They're two good friends of mine. It's a completely female podcast about the paranormal, which I always find interesting. And they're great people. They were just one of them was just in my serial killer bracket this last week, and I blew her mind with that theory. Like she messaged me a week later saying, "I can't get your theory out of my head. I've been expanding it even. Like it's just stuck in my head." I'm like, exactly the point. Which I don't know if I heard that theory somewhere or if I came up with it. I really don't know, and I'm willing to admit it because I don't want to take credit for somebody else's work if it's not mine. But
we all cramp on each other's toes, but all we're trying to do at the end of the day is just share what's important.
Exactly.
I mean, that's all it's about. Now, like you mentioned 411 tonight, I'm doing Abduction 9/11 in my What's in the Skies. Because nobody's really talking about the presentation of the abductions of the 911. I've been influenced by a lot of stories. Shawn, you had a very fascinating guest, 1.2 million views with Travis Walton on. I got to ask him some questions on a third wheel position. I suffered, which I still suffer from. Even though it didn't hurt, the next day I woke up with shadow. It's never gone away. I keep getting told it's dry eye. And how does it never go away? You're telling me how to treat it, but yet it stays there. I don't know. But these stories and these abductions, like even in our military, when you get to the military bases where the nukes and our hypersonic missiles and stuff were stored, these are where the abductions were occurring. Where?
I'm gonna pause you right there.
Okay.
Because I want to hold that for another show, honestly.
Oh, don't get tired of me because I could go for weeks.
Trust me, I'm not getting tired of you, and I will explain that.
I'll respect, brother. I'm just teasing. Just teasing.
Trust me. Once we go off air, I got something I want to say to both of you, actually. But
Don't yell
So-
at me. I'll run.
Yeah, please.
I ain't yelling at nobody, but I got kids. I do enough yelling in a day for anybody. But Shawn, why don't
Yes.
you tell them? Why don't you tell the audience where they can find you and your podcast?
Okay,
and
yes.
Anything else you want to know?
You can. I have two podcasts that I do. They're on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9. Chasing Prophecy with Jenny Nicasio. That one's on UPRN Radio 105.3 New Orleans, and that's from 7 to 9. My own personal podcast, Into the Night with Shawn Kelly, is also on Tuesday night from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and that is also on UPRN Radio 105.3. And thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Oh, my pleasure. And hopefully we'll have you back again someday as well. Mike, same thing.
Brother.
Tell them where they can find you, and tell them where they can hear you.
I do things that hit Rumble. I do things that hit YouTube, although I do suffer consequences with them. Not everything I talk about they agree with. Same as Facebook. So you can get me in all those places. But, if you want to follow me in some way, I would just say look up Michael Anthony, Facebook, and you'll find a happy trail to getting to other places and whatnot. When I do shows, they can go sometimes from 2 to 4 hours. It's just so much to talk about. It gets tiring, but it's fascinating. For me, it's educational. When I work with that many people who can withstand that type of time. But, I try to just do nice presentations under America Disclosing Uncensored, which it's disclosing basically ancient history and how we evolved by going back to the ancient times and coming to the present and theorizing around all the things and devices that were made, so that covers that way. America in Crisis is everything that we are now, and I don't want to offend anybody, but what we are going through. It's a lot of product of that, support to the American people, so forth like that. What's in Disguise is about 2 weeks off, which is a format of America Disclosing, and the Dark Radio Network Project on WKAS, my XXXXS. Has been out there, been popular. I try to do these shows once a week. And if you do, you can do several shows, 3-4 shows a week, and they're all hitting a different type of source. And it's kind of fun. I like doing call-ins. It's I'm just on a high with life, trying to do what Michael needs to do. And if I can offer anything to anybody in any way, just like a guy in the gas station yesterday, never met him before in my life. And this was a fascinating story. I want to say this. I don't know who this guy was. I'm getting cigarettes. Probably shouldn't have been buying them, but I was. He walks in and he says, guys, I'm in a jam. I left my wallet at home. He's in work clothes, full scrubs, black man, nice looking kid, little heavy set. He said, man, I'm not going to make it home. He said, can anybody just loan me $2? I'll bring it back here. I'll leave all my credentials, and nobody would help the guy. And he looked at me and just something about him said, just help the kid. You know what I mean? And I did. But I didn't have $2 $1. Maybe I did, but I just pulled the first thing out. It was a $5 bill. I gave it to him when he left. He said, thank you, Michael. Who the hell was this guy?
Wow. Okay.
Not a joke. Not a joke. So these things happen in my life. And I came home and I shared that story immediately. And they're looking at me like, okay, there's another one of yours, Dad. I was like, yeah, unbelievable. Now, he may have came back to the gas station because he said, how can I get it to you? I says, leave it with them. They know me. I don't know if it's there. I didn't go down to check. I'm not worried about $5, But yeah. You don't know how the universe works and how it's all connected. But how did this guy know my name? I wasn't wearing no badges. I'm dressed like I am now. Just 64-year-old homie going down the street to get a pack of smokes and come back up and do a show. Exactly. I put my stuff in place before I went live. Unbelievable. But, thanks for letting me share that on to people. If they want to connect or connect through you. And hey, look, great topics tonight. I loved it, Shawn. I apologize if I got misfocused. You know how I am. My mom.
I do. No, man, honest to God, Jeremy, I can listen to him all night. All I need is my Joel's and my iced tea, and I'm good to
Trust me. after seeing his comments when I was on Chasing Prophecy, I had to have him on, and as soon as he said invite Shawn too, I'm like, all right, I'll come. I was gonna have Shawn on my show eventually anyway, so why not? Let's do it.
Cool. I'm glad Michael asked. I am.
And maybe in the future we could do more of these attack, because there's plenty of topics we didn't hit tonight that I would love to hit with both of you. So we could definitely do this. We could definitely do this again in the future. And
Hey, there's
what's
Tony.
up?
Hi, Tony.
What's up? What's up, Anthony? I will be seeing you tomorrow night when you're on my show. But I've been trying to get Anthony on for months, and I finally got him on tomorrow, and I'm so happy about that because he's been
Good dude,
commenting.
man.
He's been commenting on my shows forever, and I've been trying to get him on. Like, it's just synchronization. It finally meets up. So.
Synchronicity. Yeah, I know. I love that. I do. And I believe in it. there's something more to everything.
Oh.
I think the more open we are, it comes to us in many ways. And by the way, great shares on the pictures. Next time I come in, I have a vault of 48 years that I could throw down on you before going, and you could go through them, anything you want, and use them, share them, keep them. I don't do anything with pictures, but observe them because people send them to me since the old AOL days. I mean, that's when the explosion hit, where we all made such great connections. But look, I want to stop here and just say thank you again to you guys. Anthony, I don't know who you are. I apologize for that, but I'm saying hello to you because I missed that when you popped up on screen. Hello, Anthony. It's got to be good because I'm Michael Anthony, and I'm not that one. I'm this one.
Anthony is from Texas Wraith Hunters, and he also has a podcast as well. So
Yes.
he's well versed in our field. So
Understood.
he'll be on tomorrow if you want to watch. He'll be on tomorrow. I think I want to say 7 or 6. I'm not sure which one of those times, but
Thanks, Brian. And Brian, that's my cousin.
Thank you, Brian.
That's my
okay.
cousin.
I know that Pittsburgh Penguin logo.
Brian said earlier dragons, holy shit, and that comment made me laugh my ass off. But but thank you to all my listeners for listening, and thank you to all my watchers for watching tonight. This honestly is one of my most watched shows ever, I think. But as all my listeners do know, though, you can find me as Jeremy Bryant on Facebook. You can find me as Paranormal Normal / Maniacal Music Musings podcast with an S Facebook group. You can find me on Twitter and the Gram as @JuggaloBastard. And you can find me on TikTok as @JuggaloBastard Podcast. And you can find me on YouTube just by searching Paranormal the New Normal, where this is streaming right now. Other than that, though, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And to the listeners, please tune in half a week for another episode. And wherever you're watching or listening, please like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot. Other than that, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow for another live.